This is our day 3, Wednesday, August 19th, what we got done today. So on Wednesdays, we take a break from our novel study and do Memoria Press Charter School. So we have the Delaire's Greek Myths. We read out of this book. And today we did Zeus and his family. And I just love the illustrations in this book. They are so good. So we did this story, and since I'm a little nasally, we actually did let Yodo read to us and we followed along, which ended up being really great. We may do that moving forward. And then inside, whenever we do new chapters and new lessons, we have a lot of vocabulary and a lot of people to learn. So the first thing we do when we're working with Memoria Press is we go over all the facts to know. These are usually people. I make notes so I know how to pronounce them correctly. And then we go over our vocabulary, and we've never done any vocabulary like formal. And this has been so good to the point where she's using these in her everyday life, which has been really, really fun. She loved iridescent. She went and found her dress and she was like, look how iridescent this is. Last week we had bountiful, and she was using bountiful everywhere, and she was finding it in other books that we were reading. So that's been really fun doing the vocabulary. So we go over the facts to know. Then we go over vocabulary, then we read the passage. After we read the passage, we will pick 1 or 2 comprehension questions. I usually only do whichever one will be on her review. And so today we did who built the palace for the gods and describe it. So we did that one. And then we did talk about, they have activities. We talked about what is the modern atlas. And it was funny because we pulled out the atlas to find Mount Olympus, and she got to use it, and she learned the atlas, that's where it came from. So that was really cool. Then we do our map work. So we find Mount Olympus on the map. We find Crete because that's where he was sent as a baby to protect him. So we talk about that. And then she started this week, which is a Greek myth list that she'll do throughout the whole course. So the heroes hidden at youth. So we put Zeus down here. So that has been our Greek, and we're really loving this. I'm really, really impressed by this whole Memoria Press. This is our first year using anything by them, and everything we've been so impressed by. Do I think you have to have the student workbook? No. The first week I had her write in here. Now we put them up on the board, and she doesn't write it. You'll see here, she doesn't write in it anymore. I will underline the ones that we need to know, but it's also up on our chalk. So we actually aren't using this very much anymore. So I put it in front of her so she can look over it while I'm reading out of mine. But for the most part, I think you could get away with just doing the teacher manual if you don't do a ton of like needing them to write in their books and stuff. We do a lot of this oral, and I will have her write some things, and those I've just been copying. Like that sheet that I showed you, that's actually in the back of the book. And so I actually had to tear it out and make copies. So she had this. I definitely think that you could get away with only having the teacher manual. Okay, so once we did that, we moved into our state studies. Once again, we're doing Memoria Press. We've done state studies without memorizing them before, and I overcomplicated it so much. And today I found out how overcomplicated I was making things. So this is the book that comes when you order the Memoria Press. And I was like, I don't know if I like this. So here's the main spread. It's just this simple page, and it's supposed to be simple so they can find it. It has the abbreviation, the nickname, the statehood, the capital, the state flower, the state bird, some facts, and some other facts. I was like, this is going to be light and everything. She's not going to like this. So, of course, I pulled out all of our other state books that we've used before. So I pulled out the Adventures. I pulled out this one. And after we got done, and there's one more I pulled out. It's upstairs, because one thing we did with this is it's a cookbook that went along with Alveary. They suggested it in their extra stuff for geography, either year 2 or year 3, and it goes by each state and has a food for them to eat or you to make. And so I made blueberry muffins today for Maine. I asked my daughter if she wanted me to make them during her nap or if she wanted me to let her help me, and she was like, can you just make them? So today, after she did all of her assignments and her brother got up, our 3-year-old got up from his nap, they both had blueberry muffins. We read Blueberry Sal to them and talked about Maine. So that was really fun. But to say, once we got done, my daughter asked me, can we only use this book moving forward? I think for her, she really likes less and she gets more out of that than when I try to overwhelm her with one of these massive spreads, right? They're so beautiful, but it's just too much. And so I think I'm actually just gonna put those 2 books up for now and pull them out if we're visiting the state. So we are about to go to Massachusetts. So before we go there, I am gonna pull these out. We can look at some more, but just for our weekly state study, I don't think I'm gonna use these anymore. I may just have them open on the table for the week. So if she wants to look at them, she can, but I don't think I'm bringing them into our lesson anymore. And it made our state study go really long. I wrote down our times for how long it was taking me, because I also need to know this from a work perspective, so I know if I'm actually not going to be able to get in work when I need to. So when I was writing down our time, state study, I had made it 15 minutes, and it actually took us 30 minutes to do. So I think that's because I brought in these books. So moving forward, what we're going to do is we go over the states that we've already memorized. So this is our recitation drill box. So we'll go over the states that she hasn't mastered yet. She has to know how to spell them, their abbreviation, their capital, and she doesn't have to spell the capital, but she has to know how to spell the state, the abbreviation, and then she has to know what the capital is. So in here is their student book. So in here was our first state, because we were learning the continents, the regions. So she's been doing her regions. Now we got into New England, and we have Maine. So she wrote down abbreviation, the capital, the nickname, the date into the union, the fun facts. And it was really funny because we were doing history and something said 1820, or maybe it was picture study with Monet or something. And she said, oh, 1820, that's the same time Maine became a state. So she's picking that up. We identified where Augusta is. And so she did this and she wrote this information. So fun facts, only state with 1 syllable, blueberries for Sal was written there. And she only pulled information from this book. So I gave her all the books. This is the only one she pulled information. So moving forward, I think we're going to do this and then just put the other ones away. So that was a big learning lesson for me today. Also, I do like the cookbook from Alveary, so we're going to continue doing that. That was fun. For the most parts, I like making the muffins. It was fun reading the picture book. So we may continue to do that, where I find a picture book with the state and then do the food, and we have the food while we read the picture book. But I also put up my School Nest geography notebook. She wanted no part of it. She likes these quick assignments. She doesn't really like doing all the notebooking stuff. She'll do some, but she didn't like the geography one. So we're just going with it. It's important that she memorizes where her states are. To me, that's really important, but I don't think she needs to know everything about the state. Unless we're visiting it, then we will go deeper into it. I am going to try to get us to do an art project though this weekend that goes along with Maine. So we'll see. Then after that, we started our picture study. Here's the deal. We've switched our picture study so many times. When we were going to do all Alveary, we were going to do the 1800, so rotation 3 for them. Then we decided we were going to backtrack, do well-trained mind, and really follow the true 4-year cycle of history, which would mean that we were doing early modern. And so I went on and bought Alveary's last year's artist study, and it's Francis Barlow. And that was going to be fine. I got it all and everything. I really like how the Alveary has their lesson plans. This is not the Alveary lesson plan. So I just want to caveat that, but it looks very similar to this. And so we are going to Boston, like I've said, in October. So I was like, oh, besides Paris, Boston's museum has the most Monet paintings. We should do Monet. We've done Monet like bits and pieces here and there, but never like a true artist study. So I was like, let's do Monet, but I want it to be broken down like Alveary's plans. So some of you are not going to like this, and that's okay. But since Monet is over 100 years old, it's all public domain, there's a lot of information. And because of the skills that I have set up on my Claude account for AI that I use for work, we can get some really good things generated. So what I did is I have all my Alveary and all my lesson plans for any subject uploaded into a project with AI. So I said, here's the 3 paintings that I want to use. So I picked 3 that are usually on rotation in Boston. That's the problem in Boston. They have so many and they're rotating. And so I picked the 3 that are most common to always be there. And then I picked 3 of Monet's most famous paintings. And I said, here's the 6 paintings I want to do. Here's my Alveary lesson plan for their other art programs. Can you create me a similar layout and break it down the same way that Alveary does, but for Monet. And that's exactly what it did. It created me a lesson plan that's broken down just like Alveary's, teacher's notes, vocabulary. It gave me the picture talk, how to narrate, study. It gave me, I pulled this and printed these. And then it gave me the picture information, which I always double check. We also, for my work, we have a whole process that it goes through, so it has to check itself. So this isn't just throwing something in ChatGPT. And then the picture information, I have a whole Monet book. I pulled up our book with the information, and the picture information was perfect. So that's what we're doing. We'll spend 2 weeks on this, and then we'll move to the next one. So we did picture study, and I also had this book, so we read this. So that's what we did with picture study. After picture study, we went into our math drills. She had to do her math drill, and it was subtraction, so that was a little bit of a fuss, but we got through it. Okay, so after that, we moved into Latin. And this has just been a highlight in our homeschool. I was really worried about this, and she loves it. She's thriving. She goes through our house and talks about it all day long. And so today we just did some drill work with vocabulary. She did her review questions. She got them all right. And then she did her translations that she got all, and then she did her speaking and got all of that right. So this was like, it's been a huge success. We're loving this. Then we moved into math with confidence. We did our math with confidence for the day. Then we moved into a poem from Gladiola Garden. I did squirrel because we have a squirrel that lives outside of my window. I have a little bird feeder, and then I have one for my chipmunk, and now we have a squirrel. So we're big on watching our squirrels. And so I read this one, and she loved this poem. And then so what we do is I'll read it first, then she reads it. And so that's how we do the poetry when we're just doing it out of this book. And she said this was her favorite poem so far. And then once we wrap that up, we moved into world history. So we're doing U.S. history 3 days a week with Bookshark, and then we're doing world history with Story of the World. So we read, and I actually had the Yodo do this too, and she followed along, and she was able to narrate it back to me. She even went and told her dad all about it, and Charles, and all this stuff. So we did that, and then we did map work. So we did, it comes with a big activity book. I already put it up, but we did our map work for that chapter, and then we'll do chapter 2, Riches in Spain, or chapter 1, part 2, Riches in Spain tomorrow, and that's about the Spanish conquistadors, and then we'll have a different map work for that. So I like the map work, and then we did our history timeline to show what was going on with that. So, and then we moved into our Lion Guard. She read 2 chapters out of that. So that took us from 7:30 this morning to 9:45. My goal is for us to be done at 9:30, and because of how long the state study took and how long our picture study took, because we added the picture book and stuff, that one took a little bit longer. So it kind of threw us off. I think going forward now with the simplicity that I'm going to do with the state study and with the picture study, we won't have a picture book every time. I think that we'll be right at 9:30, which is where I really need to be. So then she goes, she plays, she does her thing, and then she did do cursive at some point. She does that with her dad. So they did cursive at some point. That takes her 10 minutes. We're using Memoria Press's cursive. And so she did that, and then she goes, plays, lunch, they do that whole thing. Then she has a rest for an hour, and then she got up and she did her all about spelling, all about readings, and then they did Michael Clay Thomas. I always think I'm saying his name wrong. They did his grammar, so we're continuing on with Grammar Island. She did that, and so that took it takes 20, so 40, and then 10, so 50 minutes to complete spelling, grammar, and reading. So they did that, and then she was done until 2:30 when we had our snack with blueberries and read Blueberries for Sal. And then after that, they did some watercolor after her brother got up, and that's kind of what they've been doing, is playing. And now I'm recording this video. And so then Bodie, my little one, my 3-year-old, he did Meadowlark lesson 2. And so they were working with red. So they went around and found all the red things, did a red matching game, and then they also did lines on the dotted lines and some handwork. And so they did that today. So that's what he did. I'll have a big update about something sad I'm sad about, but I'm just having to release it as a working mom. I just have to make some sacrifices on stuff. And when I do my full week overview, I'll go over that. But that's what we did today. Hopefully this was like just fun to see what we're doing in our homeschool. I love these videos. So I'm going to be back tomorrow, and then I'm going to do Friday. And then I probably won't do these going forward every single day unless y'all are like, yes, we want these. And I probably won't do them every single day. I'll rotate them out. So let me know in the comments. Do you like these videos? Are these helpful? Or are you like, no, Brandi, just stick with the like more polished videos? So I'll see you tomorrow.